Well, there, good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Manning coming to you, Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. I want to thank all of my loyal viewers for being with me here tonight. If you read my description of tonight's show, tonight's format is going to be different. I'm going to focus more on conference races because we only have two major games this weekend between ranked teams. Number 7 Tennessee, number 4 Kentucky. They face off tomorrow. I will address that during the show. And you know, on Sunday we got number 9 Michigan, number 17 Maryland. I'll address that game a little bit more here along the way. But I'm not going to address those games right out of the gate because I got a lot of other stuff I want to get to tonight. And this is a big weekend in college basketball. Everybody knows what's at stake. Some teams only have 2-3 games left in the season. It's come down to the nitty-gritty, folks. It's officially March 1st. March Madness is going to be around the corner, and it's going to be here before you know it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come down to who wants it the most. We have conferences we have teams fighting for the top spot, but the 4th spot in some of these conferences are still red hot. And keep in mind, if you get that all-important 4th spot in some of these conferences, you get a double bye. And that's what a lot of these teams are shooting for. So let's get started. I'm going to go all the way here tonight because we got a lot I want to address. First things first, we're going to start it out in alphabetical order, and I'm going to start it out with the ACC. Everything is on the line in the ACC. The top 3 in the ACC are Virginia, North Carolina, and Duke. The battle for the 4th spot right now is very hot. Virginia Tech, Florida State, and Syracuse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you we're going to start out with the conferences. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the up down on each team, and I'm going to tell you which opponents they have left. And I'm going to tell you, and when we're done, you're going to get my choice on who wins the conference and who's going to get the all-important 4th spot here in the ACC. We started out with Virginia. Now keep in mind, Virginia is coming off of a very big 81-51 victory over Georgia Tech. Here's who Virginia has left. They have Pitt. That should be a cakewalk. Syracuse. You never know about the Orange because they're fighting for the 4th spot. Louisville, they're about down and out at the moment. And also, too, you know about the big players. DeAndre Hunter, 15.3 points per game. Kyle Guy, 15 points per game. Ty Jerome, 13 points per game. You already know about that. So Pitt, I will go ahead and give them a chance, and I'll say, let's just say Virginia, they'll beat Pitt. They should have no problem with them on Saturday. Syracuse, I'm going to kind of give them a flat line because you got to keep in mind, Syracuse, they're fighting for that all-important 4th spot. Louisville, they're kind of down and out. So I'll give them a chance on that. So basically, I feel good about Virginia's chances. Coach Tony Bennett said, we've only got 3 games left in the regular season. We should be in a pretty good shape. And I'm going to say this now. We got a team that could win the ACC regular season. Now you think Virginia's got it all wrapped up? But let's think about this. North Carolina, they're right on their heels. And North Carolina is coming off of a big 93-85 victory over Syracuse. Here's who North Carolina has left. They have Clemson. They have Boston College, and they have Duke. Clemson, I'll give them a shot. Boston College, they're only playing 500 ball. Yeah, I like that, man. Heels, no pun intended. I love that, man. I like that. Boston College, that should be an easy victory. Now, here's the $64,000 question. North Carolina wraps up the season against Duke in Chapel Hill. Will Zion Williamson play? There's a big question mark. So for now, I'll give them a shot, but I'm going to give them a flat line because I'm a little bit worried about it. Because North Carolina sees Zion Williamson, UNC is in trouble. Now, North Carolina's got the 3 best guys they had. Cam Johnson, 16.7 points per game. Kobe White, Luke May, 15.9 points per game and 14.9 points per game, respectively. So can North Carolina possibly win the ACC regular season? Right now, they are tied with Virginia for the lead. One loss by any of these 2 teams, Duke, and if Duke wins out, and if both teams suffer a loss along the way, if Virginia and North Carolina suffer losses along the way, Duke can still jump in and take it away. And I'm going to tell you now, it's going to get very interesting to see how that goes. Now here's the question. What about Duke? Duke has 2 easy games. Miami, they should have no problem with Miami. That game is tomorrow. Wake Forest, that should be an easy one. Even without Zion Williamson. North Carolina, on the other hand, I'm going to give them a chance, but I'm going to give them a flat line because it all depends on Zion Williamson. And Duke's going to need Zion to play. He's been averaging 21.6 points per game this season. R.J. Barrett's been averaging more with 23.3 points per game. Cam Reddish, 14.1 points per game. This is going to be very important. And Duke is coming off of a 77-72 loss against Virginia Tech. That's why they're a half game back in the ACC race. So Virginia, they should have an easy go of it. But I'm going to tell you right now, anything can happen on any given Saturday, and it usually does. So if I had to pick a winner of the ACC right now, sorry Duke Nation, I have a lot of respect for Coach K, but I've got to go with Virginia because Virginia's got the best schedule. They got an easy schedule the rest of the way. Duke, you've been out without Zion Williamson the last couple of games, and you still got North Carolina coming up. So I'm going to go with Virginia to win the ACC. That is my pick to win the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, what about the battle for the 4th spot? That's what some people have been asking me. So let's talk about the 4th spot. Virginia Tech. Keep in mind, this is the same Virginia Tech team that knocked off Duke 77-72. Who do they have left? They got Florida State. They're in the middle of a battle for the 4th spot. I'll give them a shot, but I'm going to give them a flat line because they have to face each other yet. In Miami, Virginia Tech should have an easy time with them. But also think about this too. Virginia Tech, they got a strong force of Nicole Alexander-Walker, 16.4 points per game. Kerry Blackshear Jr., 14.9 points per game. Justin Robinson, 14.4 points per game. That's very huge. Ahmed Hill, 13 points per game himself. I think Virginia Tech could get the 4th spot. But Florida State, you better think about them too. And for the Florida State-Virginia Tech game, I'm going to give Florida State a shot and a flat line because they got to face each other yet. But what about Florida State? This is a Florida State team that beat Notre Dame 68-61 the other night. And Florida State's got NC State. I'm going to give them a shot, but I'm going to give them a flat line too because NC State is still trying to prove they can compete with the big dogs in the ACC. Wake Forest, I'm going to give them a shot because Wake Forest has had a weak season. And also, too, Bafandou Kanagle, 13.1 points per game. Terrence Mann only 11.5 points per game. Those are the 2 leading scorers for Florida State. Florida State's shooting is a little bit, their scoring is a little bit weak. But also, too, Florida State's got NC State and Virginia Tech coming up. So there's some concerns there as well. But everybody's been asking me, what about Syracuse? Syracuse has got the hardest schedule. They got a little bit of a nightmare schedule coming up. Syracuse is also coming off of a 93-85 loss to the UNC the other night. Now, Syracuse is playing Wake Forest. That should be a gimme game. I'm going to give Syracuse a no chance against Virginia. That's Virginia, that's on the 4th on a Monday night. Then they got Clemson. That should be an easy one. And I've been thinking about this too. Tyus Battle, he's been averaging 17.6 points per game. Elijah Hughes, 13.8 points per game. O'Shea Brissett, 12.9 points per game. They have an outside chance of taking the 4th spot in the ACC. But when it's all said and done, I am going to go. You know what? I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to go with Florida State. I think Florida State can beat. If you look at Florida State, they got to face Virginia Tech. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Virginia Tech to take the 4th spot because they got an easier schedule. I know they got to play Florida State, but Virginia Tech's been shooting outstanding. Florida State has been a little bit weak. Syracuse, I think they're a little too far out of it. They can still play the role of spoiler, but as far as them taking the 4th spot and jumping in and taking the 4th spot away, I think it's a little too far out of their reach. So to reiterate, I'm going with Virginia to take the ACC regular season crown, and I'm taking Virginia Tech to take the 4th spot and get the double bye in the ACC tournament. All right, that's the ACC. Let's talk about the Big 12. This is the one everybody's been asking me this question. Scott, can Kansas still win the Big 12? The answer is yes, but Kansas needs help. And I'm going to address that here in a second. Now, the way the Big 12 conference looks right now, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor. Texas Tech. Let's start it out with Texas Tech. Who does Texas Tech have left? And keep in mind, Texas Tech is coming off of an 84-80 victory over Oklahoma State the other night. They have TCU left. I'm going to give Texas Tech a little bit of I'm going to give them a shot, but I'm also going to give them a flat line because TCU can come out of nowhere and take it away. Texas. I'm going to give them a shot against Texas. Iowa State, they can still get into the tournament field, but I don't think they can jump in, and they have no shot at winning the conference. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech beating Iowa State. And think about this for a minute. Jarrett Culver, 18 points per game. Jarrett Culver, 15 points per game. Sorry about that. David Moretti, 11.2 points per game. And Matt Mooney, 10.6 points per game. So Texas Tech should have an easy road ahead of them despite TCU. That's the one game that kind of worries me a little bit. Because TCU would be the best bet to give Kansas help. And that's all there is to it. Now what about Kansas State? They have a shot at winning the Big 12. Let's see. Tomorrow, Kansas State plays Baylor. That's going to be, you know what? Actually, with Kansas State Baylor, I am going to give Kansas State a shot. I'm going to give them a chance, but I'm also going to give them a flat line because Kansas State has to play Baylor tomorrow, and it's a very important game. TCU, I'm going to do the same thing with that because TCU, I've seen what Jamie Dixon's squad can do. They can jump in and take it away. Oklahoma, I'm going to give that game, let's just say for the sake of arguments, let's give Kansas State the victory over Oklahoma. But let's see here. I've watched Kansas State all season. I've overlooked them. And I admit it, and I'm guilty of that. And also, too, Barry Brown Jr., he's been averaging 15.3 points per game. Dean Wade, he's been averaging 12.9 points per game himself. Xavier Sneed, 10.3 points per game. And Kamal Stokes, 10.1 points per game. This is going to be a very interesting scene. If Kansas State or Texas Tech win the Big 12, there's going to be a celebration this side, the other side of the Mississippi's ever seen before. Because nobody expected a 4-team race in the Big 12. Everybody was thinking Kansas was going to run away with it. With everything that's happened with the Jayhawks, it's a miracle they're still in it. But what about Kansas State? What about Kansas? Everybody's been talking about them. I said, yes, they have a shot, but they need help. But the most important thing is Kansas has to win out first. And let's think about this for a second. Oklahoma State tomorrow, Oklahoma on the 5th of March. Both games are on the road. And then they have Baylor at home to close out the season. Yes, Kansas needs help, but here's the problem. They've got to win out. 2 of their last 3 games are on the road, and right now, Kansas has a 2-5 road record in Big 12 games. That is not very good. Well, let's think about what's happened with the Jayhawks this season. Silvio De Sousa, suspended for the rest of the season and all next season because his guardian took illegal benefits. Udaka Azubuike, he's out with injured. Marcus Garrett, we haven't seen much of him since he got hurt. So it's basically been Dietrich Lawson, LaGerald Vick, and Devon Dotson that has been keeping Kansas in it all season long. And also, too, think about this. The last 2 games are Oklahoma State, both games on the road. Kansas's road record's been horrible. That's why Kansas has been lucky just to be in contention to win their 15th straight Big 12 title. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come down to who wants it the most. Now, considering everything, considering Kansas has a 2-5 road record in Big 12 games, I'm going to give them a chance against Oklahoma State, But I'm going to put a really, really, really big flat line for both Oklahoma State and Oklahoma because really, Kansas hasn't shown me anything at all on the road this season. 2-5 in their last Big 12 games. 2-7 on the road this season. And I think they've only been like 5-5 in their last 10 games. Kansas has played bad this season away from Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, come on. West Virginia pulled off a huge upset. And if you think about that, what's going to make you think that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's going to do the same thing? I thought about this too. Bottom line, folks, I write these notes down and I take this stuff seriously. And as far as the home game against Baylor, I'm going to give them a shot. But I'm going to tell you right now, Kansas, they're not the favorites to win the Big 12 this time, people. A lot of people have picked Kansas State. Some people have actually picked Texas Tech. The only people that have picked the Jayhawks are the Jayhawks student body. And some of them are even saying no way. I'm not making this up. I don't lie about stuff like this, folks. I got to tell it like it is. So, also, too, we got one more team to think about. Baylor. If Kansas doesn't win out, and if Texas Tech or Kansas State lose somewhere, Baylor can jump in, and they could possibly take it away. Let's see who Baylor has left. They have Kansas State. That should be, I'm going to give them a chance and a flat line because they got the face-off yet. Oklahoma State, yes, I'll give them a shot. Kansas on the road, not very good. So I'm going to give them a flat line. But I'm going to tell you right now, Baylor's had a great season, and they're coming off of a 84-53 victory over Texas the other night. And there's been a lot of 84-83 victory over Texas the other night. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come down to who wants it the most. Tristan Clark, 14.6 points per game along with Mikey Mason. Mario Kiegler, 10.7 points per game. So Baylor's got a team that can get the job done. But I'm going to tell you right now, this 4-team race in the Big 12 is too close to call. I mean, Texas Tech and Kansas State are tied for the Big 12 lead. Then you got Kansas and Baylor. Both teams are a game back. Kansas's best bet is for TCU to knock off Texas Tech and Kansas State. However, Kansas has to win out to have any chance. First and foremost, and I'll say it one more time for the Jayhawks student body and all Jayhawks fans and the Jayhawks student body and everybody at the University of Kansas better shut up and listen and take me seriously on this. Kansas has to win out. That means winning on the road against Oklahoma State. That means winning on the road against Oklahoma. They've only have a 2-5 road record this season. They have to win out. Baylor, they can still jump in. They can still jump in and take it away too. So if you think this Big 12 race is wrapped up, I got some farmland in Kansas to sell you. I'm kidding. I shouldn't do that. But the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, the Big 12 race is too close to call. It's like this is almost turned into the electoral college for crying out loud. But if I had to pick a winner right now, if somebody asked me, Scott, if somebody were just to put a gun to my head and say, Scott, pick a winner of the Big 12, I would have to go with Kansas State because Kansas State has really shown me a lot this season. Nothing personal against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech has a hard schedule coming up. I mean, they got TCU, Texas, and Iowa State to close the season. So there's a lot of concerns there in the Big 12 race. So the Big 12 is anywhere near decided. And that's all there is to it, folks. That's all there is to it. Okay. That's the Big 12. Let's talk about the Big 10. This is a royal mess. The Big 10 is a royal mess in the top three, and the battle for the fourth spot is getting red hot. First, the top three. Michigan State. Michigan State is coming off of a huge win over Michigan, 77-70 last Sunday. And that was a big win. Now, who does Michigan State have left? They got Indiana tomorrow. I have not forgotten the fact that the Hoosiers have upset Michigan State. I have not forgotten about that. They have Nebraska on March 5th. Then on March 9th, to close the season, Michigan State faces Michigan. And old Sparty's done well. The Michigan State Spartans have done so well despite no Joshua Langford. Matt McQuaid, he's gotten a lot of playing time too. And Tom Izzo has had to rearrange his lineup because Langford hasn't been available. Cassius Winston, he's been averaging 19.2 points per game. Nick Ward, 15.1 points per game. That is very important going down the stretch. Now, Michigan State has Indiana. That's tomorrow. And then they have Nebraska. That's a Tuesday night game. And then next Saturday on March 9th, they close out the season against the Wolverines. So, despite what happened the last time with Indiana, Michigan State, I'm going to give Michigan State the benefit of the doubt. They'll beat Indiana. Nebraska, they shouldn't have no problem. Michigan, though, I'm going to give them a shot, but I'm going to give them a flat line because they have to face each other one more time. And Michigan is part of that top three, and I'll get to them here in a minute. But first, Purdue. I want to talk about the Boilermakers for a minute. Now, Purdue is coming off of a big 73-56 win over Illinois. Who does Purdue have left? They got Ohio State tomorrow, and Caleb Wesson of Ohio State has been suspended due to violation of policy. So I'm going to have Purdue not going to beat Ohio State. And then Purdue has Minnesota on March 5th on a Tuesday. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And then Purdue closes the season against Northwestern. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, Carson Edwards, he's been Mr. Red Hot, 23.4 points per game. Ryan Klein, 11.9 points per game. Keep this in mind, folks, because Purdue could have an easy run down the stretch. Who does Michigan have left? Michigan's coming off of a huge 82-53 victory over Nebraska, first thing first. They have Maryland on Sunday, and that isn't an important matchup. And I'm going to address that matchup here in just a second. So stay with me. And then Michigan State. That could be a huge victory there as well. So what I'm going to do, in the sake of fairness, I'm going to give Michigan a chance against Maryland, but I'm going to give them a flat line. As far as Michigan State goes, I'm going to do the same thing for them, and I'm also going to give them a flat line as well. Angus Brazadakis, 14.6 points per game. He's been Mr. Hero all season. Jordan Poole, 12.9 points per game. Charles Matthews, 12.8 points per game. That could be very big down the stretch. So, as far as the best team who has the best shot of winning the Big Ten regular season crown, I got to be honest with you. The whole state of Michigan's going to hate me. I got to go with Purdue because they've got the easy schedule the rest of the way. Or they should have the easy schedule the rest of the way. I don't see Purdue losing the last 3 games. And yes, Ohio State Nation, I know you're going to hate me. But considering what happened with Caleb Wesson, the leading scorer, being suspended, I got Purdue running Ohio State out of the building tomorrow. I really do. And OSU Nation, if you want to hate me, fine. I have no problem with it. But I got to tell it like it is. I can't lie about this. So yes, I am going to go with Purdue winning the Big Ten. And that does include Purdue beating Ohio State tomorrow. And that's all there is to it. But also, too, I did mention that Michigan had a big game against Maryland. It's a huge game. This could have Big Ten implications. Michigan is in the top 3 fighting for the title. Maryland, on the other hand, is in a battle for the 4th spot. And Maryland is coming off of a bad loss to Penn State, 78-61. Now, as far as Maryland goes, they face Michigan tomorrow. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give them the chance, but I'm going to give them a flat line. Now, Maryland closes their season against Minnesota on March 8th on a Friday. I'm going to give them a chance against Minnesota because Minnesota's had some struggles during the season. Now, you've heard me talk about Michigan's numbers. Michigan's guys to watch out for. But Maryland's got a few guys of their own to watch out for. Anthony Cowan Jr., 15.9 points per game. Bruno Fernando, 14.2 points per game. And Jalen Smith, 11.2 points per game. The Maryland-Michigan matchup is going to be won by who wants it the most. Michigan is fighting for the 3 spot, fighting for the top spot in the Big Ten. Maryland's fighting for the 4 spot to get that all-important double bye. And there's a lot at stake in that matchup on Sunday. The Maryland-Michigan game is a Sunday matchup. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. Playoff seeding, Big Ten tournament seeding is going to be announced at the end of the regular season. We'll have to wait and see what happens, who gets the double bye and who doesn't. And there's a lot at stake tomorrow. Now, what about Wisconsin? Wisconsin, that's going to be an interesting one because Wisconsin's still fighting for that big spot. And Wisconsin is coming off of a 75-73 loss to Indiana. Not very good. So, who does Wisconsin have left? They've got Penn State tomorrow on Saturday. That should be an easy one. Iowa. I'm going to give Wisconsin a shot because I'm going to address the Fran McCaffery incident with Iowa here in a few minutes. So stay with me on that. And Wisconsin closes the season against Ohio State. Easy win right there. That should be an easy one because of the Caleb Wesson suspension. Excuse me. Now, Ethan Happ, he's been Mr. Superstar for Wisconsin all season. 17.9 points per game. Demetric Trice, 12.5 points per game. Brad Davidson, 11.2 points per game. Wisconsin, I think, has a long shot. But I'm going to change my mind. I'll give them a shot against Iowa, but I'm going to put a flat line next to them because the Wisconsin-Iowa matchup could be very important on March 7th. That's a Thursday night game. But Wisconsin plays Penn State tomorrow. Keep that in mind. And Wisconsin's not going to be in a very pleasant mood after losing 75-73 in overtime to Indiana. Indiana's down and out this season. And that's all I can say. Now, what about Iowa? Iowa is coming off of a 90-70 embarrassment loss to Ohio State. And that's where the Fran McCaffery suspension comes into play. I'll address that here in a few minutes. But first, who does Iowa have left? They have Rutgers. That should be an easy one. And that game is tomorrow. But what about Nebraska on March 10th on a Sunday? That should be an easy one. The one I'm the most concerned with is Wisconsin. Without Fran McCaffery, and Iowa and Wisconsin are fighting for that all-important 4 spot and that all-important double bye. I am going to give Iowa no shot. Without Fran McCaffery, Iowa's in trouble against Wisconsin. I'm not even going to give Iowa a chance against them. Bottom line. You're thinking, Scott, why are you giving Wisconsin the shot by giving them the flat line? Because the reason behind that is because I want to be fair. And some of you guys are saying you're showing favoritism to Wisconsin. No. Iowa's going to be without Fran McCaffery for the next 2 games. And I'm going to address that here in a minute. But the thing is, they got to do a better job of answering the bell. I mean, they got interim coaches for the next 2. Rutgers should be easy. Wisconsin, not so much. But Iowa's got some guys to look out for, too. Tyler Cook, 15.8 points per game. Luka Garza, 13 points per game. Jordan Bohannon, 11.5 points per game. Joe Weiskamp, 11.4 points per game. And that's all you can say right now. So if I had to pick a winner, if I had to pick somebody for the 4 spot in the Big Ten, I would have to go with Wisconsin. Because Maryland, they got to face Michigan. And I've got some concerns there. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin, taking that all-important 4 spot in the Big Ten race. Okay. One last conference to address. The SEC. Tennessee, Kentucky, and LSU. Tennessee and Kentucky have a battle, have to face off. Have a face-off tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock on CBS. But we have one more team to throw into the equation. LSU. And I'm going to talk about Tennessee and Kentucky first, but I haven't forgot about LSU either. Now, Tennessee. They're coming off of a controversial win over Ole Miss. It was a little bit controversial. I'm not going to worry too much about it, though. A win's a win. Now, you know about the Kentucky matchup. As far as Tennessee versus Kentucky tomorrow, I'm going to give Tennessee a chance, but they're also going to get a flat line. Mississippi State, I'll give them the chance. Auburn, same thing. But Tennessee has some guys that can really get the job done too. Grant Williams, 19.1 points per game. He's on the Wooden Award watch list. Emerald Schofield, 16.7 points per game. Look out for him too. Jordan Bone, 13.1 points per game. Don't sleep on him either. Lamont Turner, 11.3 points per game. Jordan Bowden, 10.3 points per game himself. So, Kentucky, you better look out tomorrow. You're going to have your hands full. Now, as far as Kentucky goes, Kentucky's coming off of a 70-66 victory over Arkansas. So, as far as Kentucky's battle against Tennessee, I'll give them the shot, but they're also going to get the flat line. Ole Miss should be easy. Florida should be easy. But Tennessee, you might want to think about these names too for Kentucky, because these guys could come back and haunt you in the rematch. P.J. Washington, 15 points per game. Tyler Hero, 14.2 points per game. Keldon Johnson, 13.6 points per game. Reed Travis, 11.3 points per game. There's some guys that can score double digits, and you better think about that too. And as far as Tennessee and Kentucky is concerned, you guys got one more team in your back pocket you might want to think about who can take it away and come in the back door. Now, LSU has Alabama, Florida, and Vanderbilt left. And I think LSU can beat all three of them. I really do. And they got the guys who can do it too. Tremont Smart, 15.7 points per game. Naz Reid, 13.5 points per game. Skylar Mays, 13.5 points per game. And Javonte Smart, 11.1 points per game. And this is the same LSU team that beat Tennessee last Saturday in an overtime battle. And that's all there was to it. And LSU is coming off of a 66-55 victory over Texas A&M. So if somebody were to ask me right now, just for the sake of arguments, if somebody were to come up from behind and put a gun to the side of my head and said, "Scott, pick a winner of the SEC." Honestly, considering everything, I've got to go with LSU because Tennessee and Kentucky have yet to face off. And LSU, they should have an easy schedule the rest of the way. Now, the fight for the 4th spot in the SEC is a flat mess. Ole Miss 9-6 in conference play. Florida 9-6 in conference play. Mississippi State 9-6 in conference play. South Carolina 9-6. Auburn 8-7. Alabama 8-7. So as far as the fight for the 4th spot goes, Ole Miss, I'm going to give them a chance. Florida, I'm going to kind of give them a flat line. Mississippi State, I'm going to give them a shot, but I'm going to give them a flat line. South Carolina, cross them out. They're 9-6 in conference play, but they're 14-14 overall. They're only playing 500 basketball right now. Auburn, I'll give them a shot. Alabama, cross them out. The reason why I didn't go more in depth into the fight for the 4th spot is because there's too many teams and there's no perfect formula for this. And that's all there was to it. Now, you guys have been wondering about the Fran McCaffery suspension of the Iowa coach. Here's what happened. Did any of you guys see the Iowa-Ohio State game on Tuesday night when Ohio State shocked Iowa 90-70? After the game, Iowa coach Fran McCaffery got teed up. He got a technical foul after his son Connor committed a foul. And he was crying about it. And basically what happened was Fran McCaffery, and this is according to reports, Fran McCaffery went looking for official Stephen Junkins and he said, "You MFer, you are an effing disgrace." That was disgusting. Iowa Athletic Director Gary Banda immediately took action and suspended Coach McCaffery for 2 games. The Big Ten has also fined the school $10,000 for violating its sportsmanship policy. And Coach McCaffery released a statement and said, "I apologize for my actions. I shouldn't have done that, but in the heat of the moment, it gets frustrating. You go out there and play hard, then you got an official that takes the frustration, And it's just ridiculous, and I feel bad, and I do apologize. I let the school down, and I will accept the punishment leveled by the university. And the University of Iowa has accepted the fine. We'll pay the fine levied to them by the NCAA. Iowa has, once again, to reiterate, Iowa has been fined $10,000 for violation of the sportsmanship policy by the Big Ten. And right now, with Coach McCaffery being suspended for the next 2 games, I'm very concerned about Wisconsin. They got to play the Badgers yet, and I've already talked about that. Basically, what happened, in my opinion, was Fran McCaffery was frustrated. His son Connor got a technical foul, and like father, like son, Connor got a technical, Daddy got a technical, and after that, Fran McCaffery did his best Bobby Knight impersonation and went on a foul-mouthed tirade. He chased the officials into the locker room. After the game, if you want to talk about it, fine. But Coach McCaffery, you got to keep your cool, man. This is why you've been suspended for 2 games. And the punishment, and in my opinion, the punishment fits the crime. McCaffery was very lucky he didn't put his hands on an official, because I'll tell you right now, he could have been hauled off to jail. I've seen stranger things happen, but I'm going to say it again. I support the suspension and the fine. What he did, it fits the crime. It fits the crime of what he did. A lot of Ohio State Nation says McCaffery should be suspended for the rest of the season. No. Now, if he would have laid his hands on somebody, then yes. But all he did, he went on a foul-mouthed tirade. He did his best Bobby Knight impersonation. And that's the way I see it. I apologize for bringing the old dog into this and bringing in Coach Knight. But he's the first person that comes to mind when it comes to foul-mouthed tirades. And sometimes if you need to use motivation, I don't believe in cussing and swearing, but sometimes if you're going to be a coach of any team, at the high school level or at the college level, sometimes a foul-mouthed tirade is the way you got to do it. I don't like it. I don't support it. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And do I support the actions of the Big Ten and the University of Iowa? Yes, I do. The crime fits the punishment. The crime fits the punishment. Or should I say the punishment fits the crime? It does. Yes, it does. And that's all there is to it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for my closing thoughts on this night. The question has been asked again. Should Zion Williamson return from injury to play at Duke? NBA legend Kobe Bryant said yes, he should. He made the commitment. And I commend Kobe Bryant for saying what he said. Now, Kobe didn't play in college. He went right from the high school to the NBA. And also, too, Kobe Bryant did not go to college. So keep that in mind. And also, too, in my opinion, should Zion Williamson return from injury to play at Duke? I say yes, because without him, because Duke ain't going to go far without him. That's all there is to it. Think about it. Duke's they've lost to North Carolina, and they've lost to Virginia Tech because Zion is on the bench. He's been benched with a knee injury, and right now Duke needs him. And also, too, he made the commitment of playing college ball. He made the commitment to play at Duke. He should do what he should stick with that commitment and play at Duke. And that's all there is to it. Now, I know he's number one on the NBA draft prospects at ESPN. I understand that. But he made a commitment to play college ball at the University of Duke. And Duke is a prestigious school. You would have to almost be a millionaire just to get in. I'm not kidding. But I'm going to say this, though. I always say, if you want to go play in college, you should stick it out for 4 years. I always say, get a college education, get your degree. Then if you want to go pro, go pro. But if you're going to go to school like at Duke, you should stay, get your degree. Then if you want to go pro, go pro. But if you get hurt after when you graduate and then you want to go to the NBA, then you get hurt and you can't play anymore, at least you have something to fall back on. At least you have that safety net. But some of these players, with this one and done rule, you go 1 year, you don't finish your degree, you can always come back and finish it later. But I'm going to say this, though. There are players that go to school for 1 year, then leave to go pro, they don't finish their degree, and you get hurt, you're in trouble. You don't have that safety net. And that's the thing. I mean, let's think about this. NFL legend Eddie George. He played his college ball at Ohio State. He stuck it out for 4 years, won a Heisman, played in the pros for a while. He went from playing football to being on Broadway. You can't complain about that. He's had a great career. And there's a lot of people, a lot of NBA legends who didn't go to school, but they made names for themselves. But I'm going to say this, though. I always say this, and I'll say it again. When you go to college, when you go to play college ball you should stick it out for 3 or 4 years until you get your degree. Get your degree, then if you want to go pro, go pro. But if you get hurt after you get your degree, at least you have that safety net. You've got that safety net to fall back on. And this is why I absolutely do not support the one and done rule. I don't support it. I never have, and I never will. The one and done rule should go away. If you want to play, and I mean, the NBA is considering lowering the eligibility age from 19 to 18. If you get a bunch of 18-year-old kids that are good and they want to leave high school and go pro, let them go pro. But the one and done rule has got to go away. I don't like it. I don't support it. I never have, and I never will. And as far as Zion Williamson is concerned, Zion, finish your degree. Get your degree. Then if you want to go pro, go pro. But I can't support Zion Williamson going to the NBA after 1 year of college. It's not going to work for him. And it showed again in that game against North Carolina when he got hurt. That's why I oppose the one and done rule. That's why I don't like it. It doesn't work, in my opinion. And once again, if I was a college athlete, and if I was in college and I was an athlete, I would go 4 years. I would get my degree. Then, if I wanted to go to the NBA, I'd go to the NBA. But if I get hurt and I can't play anymore, and I got all this money, I would take that money, I would have that safety net in case something like that would happen. I would go that route, and that's what I would do. And that's all there is to it. And I'm not saying anything more tonight because my voice is going away. And that's all I have to say. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank you guys so much tonight for being with me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Scott Manning. All you have to do is type my name, scroll down, look for this pretty face, click subscribe, and you'll see all the sports videos I have done so far. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me here tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing I'm not sure if I'm going to do a wrap-up show tomorrow night or not. I haven't decided on that because we've only got one ranked matchup tomorrow, and that's Tennessee and Kentucky. I might just do a quick wrap-up video, but if there's any major upsets along the way, I will have a break-in show, and I'll probably do a special show about 10 o'clock or so just to bring you up to date as what has happened. Thank you guys so much for being with me. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for being with me, and God bless. Good night, everybody, and thank you.